All right. So we continue with the five hindrances. So tonight we'll talk about the hindrance of sloth and torpor, or tinamida. Now, before we go into this tinamida, that here we are still at the fourth noble truth. Then in the fourth noble truth, the whole nature of the fourth noble truth is to develop, is to cultivate. The first noble truth is to be fully understood. The fourth noble truth, when you develop it, so in order for you to understand, or in order for you to see the true nature of the first noble truth. In the first noble truth, the Buddha says that the five aggregates of clinging, they are suffering. Five aggregates of clinging are suffering, are dukkha. So, when we pay attention, when it comes into vipassana, when you're noting, when you're paying attention, when you are being alert about your objects of rising, falling, sitting or touching, thinking, planning, and all the hindrances also falls under the five aggregates. So we are not far from the fourth noble truth, or in the four noble truth. So we are still here. We are still here, and all the nature of in the fourth noble truth is to cultivate. Cultivate is also including of abandoning also. And you say that means you make the effort, you cultivate the effort, you cultivate the mindfulness in order to abandon the hindrances. So we are still here in the fourth noble truth. Now, so we're going to talk about the sloth and torpor. Now, this sloth and torpor, or tinamida, or in the nowadays the Bhikkhu Bodhi, in the newer translation, he will use dullness and drowsiness. And then there are also other translation also. So it's good that at times when we read also when we read these Dhamma books, then it's kind of like we need to know exactly what it meant by in the Pali also too, because in the Pali they don't change the terms, but in the English when it comes into translation, then the terms may change according to time and also according to the different authors. So it's good that for us to this one. I'm not so concerned about so much terms here and there, and because when it comes to English translation, it all depends on the understanding and the development of the author. So I'm not too concerned about whichever good translation I find it, and then okay, I can take it. Now in the in this sloth and
sorry, Reverend, your accidentally.
Oh, it goes into. Can you all hear just now? Now can hear. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that this sloth and torpor, in the beginning, the sloth and torpor going to be a very strong for almost all yogis. I haven't seen I mean, if I've seen a yogi that's starting in the meditation, if they come in from another retreat, then of course the sloth and torpor is very little. But for most of the yogis who just begin the meditation, even though they have been practicing in the past and they are not continuing from a retreat to another retreat, a continuous of retreat. Sometimes they continue retreat because that retreat already over, they continue over into the present retreat. So if you are in the continuity of the retreat, then you don't feel so much of the sloth and torpor. But if you are starting the retreat anew, then many yogis will have a difficulty going through this meditation, going through this sloth and torpor. In the first few days, you kind of literally you are sleeping on the job. You're sleeping while sitting. You are so drowsy even when you're walking. You're drowsy even when you're eating. When you want to sleep that time only, then you're awake. Then that time it's all upside down. A lot of things upside down. And it's understandable. During in the retreat, we are changing our times, our lifestyle, our conditioning, a lot of things we are changing. We are even changing the time that we are sleeping and the time we are waking up. Very few of us wake up at 4 o'clock every day. Very few of us of 3 o'clock every day, depending on where you are. In Burma, they start at 3 o'clock. They finish at 9 p.m. 3 a.m. in the morning, finish at 9 p.m. Whereas in Malaysia, they start at 4 a.m. They finish at 10. Same. So because of the changing of the times, then the body have a lot of difficulty of adjusting. Now, after adjusting, they feel much more better. That means after a number of days. That's one big reason they have a sloth and torpor. Now, second reason you have a big sloth and torpor, strong sloth and torpor, is because of your work. Especially those coming with a very, a lot of career, and they come in to meditate. And they got to stop their job. They have to take leave. They come for a retreat. And usually, before they come into a retreat, they try to clear whatever they can. And they try to clear. And when they try to clear, that means they rush. They have to rush and they have to do this and to do that. And then they may have a lack of sleep. And sometimes also due to their work or their nature, then they find that they also have lack of sleep in the everyday normal days. So when they come into a retreat, then you don't have much things to do, only like walking, sitting, meditating. Then the mind gets tired, very easy get tired. Then the time also they'll go into a lot of sloth and torpor, strong sloth and torpor. So now it'd be good before you come into a retreat. It's good that kind of like we warm up first. We do some more meditation. If we can, if we got the time. If we got the time. If you don't have the time, well, you will come into a retreat for the first few days. You're going to have a lot of drowsiness. And because of these two, then don't come for 3 or 4 days retreat. Especially in the Mahasi style, you come for 3 or 4 days of retreat, you will have a lot of drowsiness. Other type of meditation, you may not have it, because in other form of retreat, you may have to do some household. Not household. You have to do some sweeping. You have to do some cleaning. You have to do some other things. Your meditation time is not as many like when you are in the Mahasi method. Mahasi method means you are not supposed to do all those things. A minimum, yes, very minimum, yes. But 90% of your time you spend on 100% of your time you spend on meditation. Whether you are sweeping or whether you are doing any other thing, you got to be mindful. So because of that, when you go to other forms of retreat, you don't have much of a sleepiness, but a little bit, but not as strong as especially when you are doing Mahasi method. So because of that, a lot of people cannot take it. Because of that sleepiness, they come in for a first few days. They really feel that, other retreats I could able to meditate. How come in this retreat I cannot meditate? I think this retreat is not right for me. So because of that, they gave up on the meditation. They gave up on this meditation, and then of course they look for other forms of easier form of retreat. Yeah? You have to pass through these first few days. All yogis have to pass through these few days of sleepiness and drowsiness. Some will take up to like 1 week of that drowsiness. Some take a few days. Sometimes when you are in the beginning of your practice, then it may take more days. But if you have done a number of retreats, it takes less. Maybe 2 or 3 days, then the mind become more alert. So this is in the beginning part of the meditation. Now, also when you are in the everyday life too, when you are doing meditation, you are also sometimes bombarded by all this drowsiness. Now, if you're coming back from from work, then you've been rushing here and there, doing a lot of things, a lot of thinking, physical work also sometimes, and then when evening you want to meditate, then you find that my mind is so drowsy. Or for other people, they like to meditate in the morning. They meditate in the morning, they find that waking up in the morning, they are fresh, they meditate, they're not so much of sleepiness, which is good. You find your sweet spot, you find your right timing to do a meditation. But it's not good for everybody in the early morning, because some people in the early morning is very drowsy, and they don't feel alert until like in the afternoon or in the evening. So each and everybody has got its own different timing to meditate in the everyday life. But nevertheless, you will still bombarded with this sloth and torpor once in a while, even you wake up fresh in the morning. And we're going to see how this sloth and torpor, how are we going to overcome them. Now, just like all the other hindrances that we have already talked about, it also is important that for us to understand or face to face with this sloth and torpor. That means when you go face to face with the sloth and torpor, tinamida, you have to know its characteristic. You have to know its nature. If not, sometimes this sloth and torpor, they come in with such a fine, very soft, peaceful, and then they slip into your noting. Without you realizing it, then you find that your noting is getting dull, it's not so clear anymore. So it's important for us to take note of it, even whether it's strong or whether it's weak. So it's good for us to understand its characteristic, its nature. Usually I think that although we're going through all this characteristic function and all that, as I said, it doesn't justify the whole development, because when it comes in more than you can able to describe. More than you can able to describe in whatever vocabulary that's going to put later that we're going to see. Much more than that. So it's good that for you to go and see them as they really are. Okay? Now let us go into the screen sharing. Okay. Can you see? Tinamida? All right. Okay, make it bigger, slightly wider. Okay. All right. Now, the characteristic here of this sloth and torpor, Uh, it's called the lack of a driving force, a mental driving force. Uh, its function of this love is to remove the mental effort and its manifestation as sinking or a heavy mind. Let it go into the characteristic of topper. Then after that, we talk about them together. The characteristic of topper or drowsiness here, then this is the unwieldiness of the mind. Unwieldiness, that means the mind cannot able to bend. That is to say, all your other mental functions are also become unwieldy. That means they are not able to do their function. The function here is to smother, is to cover. To cover up all the other mental function, all other mental states, so that they don't work. Manifestation, when it comes in strong, is nodding like sleepiness and sleepiness. Now, when you look at this characteristic function manifestation, when you go through all other characteristic function and meditation, even for mindfulness or effort and so on, they are showing you, they are describing when they become strong and clear. They become strong and clear. Okay? Just like when you see drowsiness, when they are strong and clear, you already go into nodding and sleepiness already. Not sleep, not sleep, sleepiness. Sleep is not sloth and torpor anymore. But of course, on the way there, but not sleep, it's sleepiness. So when you look at the characteristic function manifestation, they are all showing you its strong characteristic. I mean, you can see them. So too, sometimes when you read like mindfulness, concentration, then also they have got characteristic mindfulness, function, manifestation. They too also are describing the strong type of mindfulness. When mindfulness is strong, how is it like? But when you are in the beginning of a practice, you want a lot of time. People also do not know what is mindfulness. Practice after one retreat, two retreat. Also, they also mong cha cha. What is mindfulness? What is concentration? They are still doubtful about what is mindfulness, what is concentration. Why is that? Because they are not clear. They are not obvious yet. Although sometimes after the retreat, you go back and see what is mindfulness. You look at the characteristic, you go and read the characteristic. Then you look at yourself, whether you have not. I don't think so, I have. It's not that you don't have, but it's not obvious. It's not clear yet. Yeah? But for sloth and torpor, then they are very clear. You don't have to wait until you are enlightened and you see this. Then this time in the beginning of your practice, you could actually able to see this because they are hindrance. They are not something a wholesome state of mind. This is an unwholesome state of the mind. So it's very clear. So we want to bring that sloth and torpor, dullness and drowsiness we minimize them. To minimize them. That means little nodding, little sleeping. Now the cause here is called the unwise attention to boredom or drowsiness. Here the Buddha described it a little bit more. The Buddha described it a little bit more here. It says that, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen dullness and drowsiness arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness increase and expand so much as discontent, lethargy, lazy stretching, drowsiness after meals, sluggishness of mind. For one with a sluggish mind, unarisen dullness and drowsiness arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness increase and expand. Yeah? Drowsiness, your sloth and torpor arises because in the beginning there's also sloth and torpor coming in already. It's just that you are not aware of them. Boredom also is a kind of a light sloth and torpor. Mental lazy also is kind of like a light sloth and torpor. That means you're stretching lazily, because you eat too much after meal, or you eat too much just now. In the beginning, the body becomes lethargic. The body becomes lethargic, and if you're not careful, if you're not mindful, then it will become mental lethargy, and mental lethargy has come in as sloth and torpor. The bodily lethargy, sometimes you cannot stop them. It will come in because of the tiredness of the body. Because of the tiredness of the body, if you're not careful, then it goes into sloth and torpor. But during the retreat, we can control them in the sense that when the body is tired, but the mind can be still alert. But in the normal days, like every day when we are not meditating, when the body is tired, it's already gone into sloth and torpor already. Very fast without we all realizing it when it comes. Yeah. So it comes from a very weak, and it becomes very strong. Now, during in the retreat, it is good that you can able to notice its weak form and its strong form. The weak form and the strong form, both of it also you have to take note of them. Because if you don't take note, especially the weak form, then you will become the strong form of sloth and torpor. The weak one is difficult to detect it, but it takes training for you to able to know them. But the strong one is easy, it's right in front of you, but to overcome them, it's not easy. So it's good that we overcome them when they are still weak, and it can be done. It can be done. Now, when it comes into this sloth and torpor, a lot of times we thought that this sloth and torpor we don't give attention towards it. In the beginning of the practice also, in my vipassana practice, every time when it got overcome by drowsiness and dullness and so on, I do not know what to do. And we do not go pay attention to it. So it's good that at least we begin to understand them, because in the later part, when I begin to see them as they really are, then you begin to notice that it's quite interesting, this sloth and torpor. It comes in many ways. Take, for example, like this sloth and torpor. They come in sometimes when you are meditating. You're meditating, suddenly your mind become dark and dark and dark. Become darker and darker. And then your object of your observation is not there anymore. It come in one way, in that one of it, as if like you are noticing the smothering effect. It becomes darker, as something like a blanket is covering up all your lights already, or your lights become dimming inside. While you're noting, and it starts to dimming. Or sometimes you find that when you're noticing, your whole mind becomes so heavy or sinking. It's like in the abyss like that, that you cannot rise up. The mind is not like light and easy, but it's so heavy and dull. Then you begin to notice is this one. Or sometimes when you are meditating, and then you begin to notice that how come the the noting power has become less and less and less and less. It's like no energy to note then the object while you're still paying attention to it. Then you begin to notice that sloth and torpor start slowly coming in already. Yeah. Most of the time, if when it becomes strong, of course, it already manifests into nodding and sleepiness already. Not just nodding and sleepiness. Sometimes some yogis, the body also starts swinging to the left, to the right. Sometimes forehead also into the front, to the backs. Different people have different way of sleepiness when it's become heavy. Sometimes some people they can have some yogis they can sit straight on without this nodding, without this nodding, but inside there is already asleep. Inside there asleep. Then but you look at the yogi, thought that wow, the yogi is wonderful. He can sit so long, but inside there is already asleep. How they do that? I have no idea. This one I haven't mastered. That one they mastered already. This time even the teachers walk past them, or the Sayadaw walk past them, the Ajahn walk past them. Wow, they look at this yogi who are still very good. But inside it's not doing anything anymore. So you have to have wise attention to all this boredom. So they have the weak part and they have the strong part. We as a meditator, sometimes we want to see, when we begin to see yogis when they are meditating, we are also very careful when the yogi is coming with a lot of hindrances. Because when you come with a lot of hindrances, the yogi gets disappointed with the meditation. When they're disappointed with the meditation, that means the doubt will start coming in, whether you should do this or that, should I meditate this or not, should I go to another retreat or not, should I stop retreat or not. Then later part, not only that, the doubt comes in, also the faith towards the development of the mind is also begins to shake. And then if it becomes too strong, then it becomes a problem. So to this dullness and drowsiness, for some yogis, these are very strong. They're strong because of there are different places when I go to, in the past when I went to different places, sometimes I see certain culture have certain hindrances more stronger than another culture. This dullness and drowsiness, in the Chinese community, you don't find them so strong. Although they overcome by this drowsiness and in a certain time, but they are not in the sense of mentally lazy. Chinese people are very lazy. They're always looking for money. So because with that attitude, they also did bring also into the meditation also. Because mental, their mind is in that sense of business and so on, and because of energy, they also bring it. If they go in the right way, then that energy also becomes part of their character. Whereas when you go over to like Burma, then this laziness of the mind and a lazy mental states, and I've seen a lot of them is like that. They go into a retreat, they don't really want to meditate. When they meditate, the mind starts to become very not alert at all. The women is better, but the men, the men have the characteristic of that laziness is stronger. So with that, they need a lot of encouragement. They need a lot of Dhamma talk, which concerning with effort, concerning with pushing and so on. Then only they start to do something about it to their mind. If not, we'll see a lot of, especially in the men area, the men yogis. We see that a lot of them are, in a way, mentally quite lazy. Mentally quite lazy, and then you can show it when they are lazy. You can show it in their physical behavior. But in Malaysia, because all the most, 99% of the yogis are all Chinese, and Chinese don't have that type of mental laziness so much. So this is something. Now this sloth and torpor, all right, they only can be eradicated in the arahantship only. So you got a long, long way to go. But doesn't mean that arahant cannot feel sleepy, Sleepy is one thing, sloth and torpor is another thing. Sleepy here, it means that when the body is tired and when they need to sleep, they also have sleepiness, then only they go into sleep. Doesn't mean that this is not falls under the sloth and torpor thing. For example, also there are times it may not be sloth and torpor. For example, if you are taking certain medicine and it becomes drowsy, and let's say that time you try to be mindful, you try to be alert, you try to be clear, then also after that your mind becomes very not clear at all. Your mind become big. After that you may sleep. That is not in the sense of sloth and torpor. Of course, if you are not enlightened, then most probably you will turn into that. But for arahant, if you are giving him or giving her certain medicine, or you go into anesthesia, then also he will go into drowsiness. No matter how we fight, he also will go into sleep also. So that is not really in the sense of sloth and torpor. So sloth and torpor here connected with unwholesome mental state is an unwise attention to the boredom, to the drowsiness. Okay. Now, in the sloth and torpor, the tina mida, they arise together and they disappear together. This is the two mental state, two type of cetasika. But sloth sometimes may be more prominent than torpor. Sometimes torpor may be more prominent than sloth. Although they come together, but their strength may be different. Sometimes the strength may be the same. Sometimes they are different. Sometimes one is more stronger than the other one, but they all come together and disappear together. Now, the sloth here, the dullness or tina here, they affects the mental consciousness. Chitta gilana. The word gilana means sickness. Chitta, sickness or illness. So so you kind of translate as sickness or illness of the consciousness. Whereas torpor or drowsiness, it affects the mental factor, kaya gilana. Kaya here is not the body, in that sense. The kaya here, it's the mental factor because it's a collection of mental factors. Now, here, sometimes if you are meditating, of course, you don't have to go and try to differentiate which one is sloth and which one is torpor. The time when you are so drowsy and sleepy, you think you can do all these things. It's not easy until there will be times if you're able to remember, maybe in the future when you start to meditate, perhaps you can, Sometimes you find that now when you meditate, you find that when your mind is really heavy, very deep, then you find that that is more of a sloth, is manifestation itself, more prominent. But when you find that your noting is not clear, no, sorry, not noting, your note that when you are watching a rising and falling or in breath and out breath, and then when the in breath and the out breath becomes more, the noting itself become weakened. And then at the time you know that sloth and topper is coming in, at that time the topper is more prominent, a little bit more prominent. So there are different ways. Just like just now we go into this one. Like sometimes, like when it's like your light is going out, your it lives like your, firstly in the beginning part, your mind is bright, and then slowly it becomes just like a candle light, and then suddenly all gone. That it's also kind of a topper that is covering the whole thing. So something like this, something like that. So sometimes they are more prominent than one to another. Then it will be interesting when you're able to notice these things. Then the meditation will be quite interesting. Even when you even facing with sloth and topper. Most of the time when we have this sloth and topper, we find that the whole meditation become very dull, become very not effective. But when you have when you're able to differentiate them, then it become interesting. Okay, all right. They come together, they disappear together. Okay, now again here, we're going to go through proper ways of overcoming a hindrance. Again here, it's the same form. At least you must have certain degree of mindfulness behind. That is difficult to come in, because when your sloth and topper is there, in the first few days, you don't try to do this. First few days, you try to don't go head to head with the sloth and topper. You're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the game. First few days is all about arousing more effort. You arouse more effort. You cannot face the hindrance. Confront the hindrance face to face, and especially with the sloth and topper, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that battle. You're going to lose that sitting, in fact. I'm going to lose that walking too. So it's good that we arouse the effort in another way. We arouse the mind in another way. This way, when you want to go head to head with them, that means you have a sufficient, and in the past you have already doing some continuous meditation for the past few days or past 1 week or the past 10 days already. Then the time that certain mindfulness has built up. But on that particular sitting, after 10 days or so, then your mind, perhaps that particular sitting, then the sloth and topper comes in strong. Then here is where you can start to overcome them. So here, when you're able to recognize them as mindfulness with some degree of alertness, and you're able to recognize them. So you label them, you note them. In this sloth and topper, they don't come in, all the hindrance, usually, they don't come in as single hindrance. Sometimes this sloth and torpor, it also come in with sensual desire. It also comes in with restless mind also, or imagination mind, which is also a kind of a restless mind. uh, and and sometimes while they are coming in together, one of them can be quite stronger, and sometimes the sloth and torpor a little bit at the background, the sensual desire may be stronger, but sometimes the sloth and torpor a bit more, sensual desire a little bit less. uh. For example, um, in the early part of the meditation, early in the morning, I have difficulty getting alert. Like 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, 6:30 is the breakfast time. So you have a 1 hour of sitting before the breakfast, right? So during that sitting, a lot of times I'm bombarded with a lot of sloth and torpor. A lot of sloth and torpor. Sometimes it's a clear sitting, but sometimes a lot of times it's more like not very clear. So when you are not clear, you know that sloth and torpor is coming in. And then after that, the imagination of food is right in front of me already. I was hungry. So hungry. And then that time, I imagine the banana was passing through, Then the mouth is opening up already while sitting meditation, you see. Yeah. The desire is coming in together with the sloth and torpor, together with the restless mind, in the sense of imagination is there. It comes in. So too, it will come in many ways, Sometimes when you are meditating, then when you're a bit drowsy, and when you're the mind is a bit dull, not clear, then you find that sometimes there are all kinds of daydreaming type of imagination and so on. Very light imagination is passing through. Then a very dreamlike state is passing through. So that is again, connected with sloth and torpor. It connected with other hindrances also, but now it's connected with sloth and torpor. So at least you're able to recognize them, because they will come in many ways, many times, many forms. They will come in and trick you into going into a more heavier sloth and torpor. So it's good that you recognize them. When you have mindfulness, then you're able to recognize them correctly. That is to say, if you are not sure, label them. Label them. Drowsy, 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 sleepy, 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 sleepy. Mine is weak, 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 whichever it is. So you note them, you label them correctly. And it is good that to bring back the labeling. Sometimes for more advanced yogis, they drop the labeling when the mind is clear. They can just observe things are going on, arise, pass away, changing, and so on, which is good. But sometimes also these hindrances, especially for sloth and torpor, when it comes in, this is the time for you to bring back the labeling, because the labeling is very helpful to overcome the drowsiness later on. So you got to recognize them. Recognition is not that easy, as I said just now earlier on. They come in different forms and they try to trick you. They try to trick you in so many ways. Like they just make your mind soft a little bit, and then they just let you continue and meditate a little bit more. You thought that they are still doing well, and after that, the whole mind is already going into darkness already. So it can trick the mind. Sometimes I notice even when you're meditating, things are getting quite clearly, and then suddenly certain imagination is coming in. And certain imagination coming in, I know that is a sloth and torpor. It comes in as an imagination, that the background, I know there's sloth and torpor. Because once that type of certain type of imagination or certain type of thoughts coming in, then in the past I begin to notice that it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and then the whole mind becomes dark and heavy. Yeah? So if you're not familiar with it, then you may not able to catch that type of thought. So it takes a lot of training, a lot of skills just to recognize that little thought. Little thought or little sloth and torpor is like starts to coming in. Now even sometimes the sloth and torpor coming in as just one knot, or the body starts moving already, or slight, like it's just slight moving already. That also sometimes, if you're familiar with it, you begin to notice that the sloth and torpor is starting its head already. The head is starting to crawl out already. So if you can able to catch it, that'll be very good. Just the first time when you start nodding or the body starts moving. Sometimes we thought that the moving of the little part of the body, is okay. What's a big deal? But when you're alert, when you're mindful, when you're clear, that little bit of movement is a sign of sometimes sloth and torpor coming in already. Sometimes we notice that the body starts to move, or the nodding, it begins that little, and then we find that the noting mind starts to diminish already, starts to weaken itself already. Then you know that all the signs of sloth and torpor is coming in already. So this is how you recognize them. It's a more of a minute way, a minute part of it. Hopefully you all still can able to follow me now, because here we go into such a minute part of the meditation, and those who are not meditating, don't know what is it talking about. Like that little also want to know. But it's important for a meditator. It may not be important for you at this point of time, but when you are going into a more intensive practice, this will be really important. So it goes into this part. Now the third one is acceptance. The acceptance here, again here, just like all the rest of this one, again here some yogis are because of affected by the sloth and torpor again and again, morning sleepy, afternoon sleepy, night sleepy, next day also sleepy, for 1 week already sleepy, in between you find that how to meditate like that? I got 10 days only, now 1 week also still sleepy, how to meditate? 2 more days, 3 more days, want to go back already. There are some retreats, sometimes yogi come in that way. Sometimes your retreat, maybe 2 or 3 days it overcome, and then after that you can able to meditate, which is good. But there are days, there are just some retreat, you have to take more days for it, And then you try to compare with your previous retreat. Hey, previous retreat I can do 2 or 3 days. How come this retreat I take more days? One day something wrong with me, is it? One day I didn't do this or didn't do that, is it? And then they begin to doubtful, doubt about their practice. Then all these things because they're not accepting the sloth and torpor. So you got to be able to accept the sloth and torpor. Now sometimes some people cannot accept the sloth and torpor because that they think that meditation, all these hindrances must not come in. Come in only, that means my meditation is bad, fail. It's not like that. You see, as I said again, the 5 hindrances is part of the Dhamma Nupassana, is part of the whole meditation practice. It's because of our attitude that we cannot able to accept this one. Our attitude is to be perfect. And then that type of attitude is a wrong attitude. We want the whole meditation to be perfect. No sensual desire coming, no sloth and torpor coming, everything no. Must be perfect. You're not there yet, you're not Arahant yet. If you're Arahant, maybe lah. If you're not, then no. So because there are some yogis thought that it must be perfect. Then there are also yogis thought that the perfect of a sitting, especially in the sitting, because in the walking they don't get so sleepy because they are moving around, which is true. But in the sitting, also they don't want the mind to have nodding, or the mind, or the body to nod, or the body to have a little movement here and there. So they cannot accept all these things. So what they will do is that they will stiffen up the whole body, and then they sit very straight. No, the sleepiness, no. that type of a very, that type of, what do you say, effort? Not to say it's not effort, but it's a wrong effort. It's non-acceptance. It's the whole attitude. That can lead to a lot of problem. Yeah? Another type of non-acceptance is that they want to sit straight. They cannot show themselves to be drowsy or sleepy, must be perfect in this one, because they are shy, or they are afraid that other people might look at them. You look at that monk, you see? Every time sit sleepy, you see? Then the monk, sometimes they think that, oh, people are looking at me. I cannot show a bad example to other people that is just behind me, and I must sit always the time straight. That also wrong, because you're trying to use a conceit, your eye. You're trying to use an eye to overcome this sloth and torpor, which is, as I said, you cannot overcome an unwholesome mental state with another unwholesome mental state. Yeah, you cannot use your I am, your conceit to overcome your sloth and torpor. So you use a lot of I because you cannot let people see that you are sleepy. And this happen sometimes in the retreat, because once in a while there are monks come into the retreat. Once in a while there are nuns come into the retreat. Once in a while there are leaders of a Buddhist society come into a retreat, or a leader of a community of a Buddhist that come to a retreat, and then all their followers also is following them for that particular retreat. So the leader mustn't thinking that they must not show all these signs of sleepiness. Signs of sleepiness are going to be a bad example to all my followers. Then they fall into all this conceit. I am. Then they try to overcome the sleepiness in that way. That is also not right. Wrong acceptance also means that there are people who just don't care, don't bother. Bante, if I am so sleepy, Bante, can I just go to the room and sleep or not, Bante? They don't care, don't bother already. Then that time, accept sleepiness, sit there and sleep more, and get up and just go to the bed, or just lie down there and sleep. That also is wrong acceptance. That is not the right acceptance. So this way, there are many times yogis use the wrong way, or use the wrong way to overcome sleepiness. That means that they use unwholesomeness, unwholesome mental state to overcome that, and that is not right. That is not right. So acceptance here again, that you know that the sloth and torpor is already there. You know it's there. You're not trying to push it away. You're neither make it stay. Yeah, it's it's there. You accept that it's already there. You don't try to be you're not a perfectionist and so on, but you know that that thing is there already. Then you accept it. Then it's good. That means you're having a right attitude, a right acceptance, a right mindfulness onto the sloth and torpor. Now, then when you have that type of of awareness and acceptance on this sloth and torpor. So the next thing is to overcoming. Yeah. Overcoming most of the time or all the time it's using this mental effort and also initial application of mind, because initial application will bring in the mental effort. So in the wide scope, it's all mental effort. But when you are actually doing it, it's a lot of initial application. We're going to see maybe today, maybe another day. Yeah. So we talk about vipassana, with samatha and other skillful ways. Again, the same way of overcoming them. So, so before we go into this, let me talk about a little bit about effort first. Before, I think, now here, effort here, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen dullness and drowsiness do not arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness are abandoned, so much as the element of instigation, the element of persistence, the element of exertion. For one who has aroused energy, unarisen dullness and drowsiness do not arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness are abandoned. Okay? So to overcome them, the Buddha says the element of instigation, element of persistence, element of exertion. So this is the three different level of effort. Virya dhatu, the element. The Buddha used it, the element. The first one is called aramba dhatu. Now, in the Sada U Pandita's book on the path to freedom, they use the word putting forth effort, the element of putting forth effort, aramba dhatu. It's as similar as instigation. Step up effort, nikama dhatu, element of persistence at the top. An element of striving towards success, parakama dhatu. It's the element of exertion. So you see, again, translation a bit different, but in the Pali, they are all the same. That is what element of instigation in Pali, aramba dhatu. So here, this three level of effort. Usually when we know about effort, when we know about talking about the four supreme effort, the four right efforts, when we talk about the effort to abandon the unwholesomeness that already arisen, then to prevent the unwholesomeness from arisen, and the effort to arouse the wholesomeness which has not arisen, and also to maintain and develop the wholesomeness that already arisen. That is the four usually that we know about the right effort. But in another way, the Buddha used the virya dhatu, the element, the element of effort, virya dhatu. Now here, what it means by putting forth effort. Putting forth effort means that when you are come into contact, when you begin to able to recognize that hindrances is already in front of you. So you put forth onto it. You put forth an effort, and you begin to pay attention to that hindrance. Now, step up effort, it means that you persistent on noting that object, on that particular hindrance. For example, if that drowsiness, you begin to persistent noting on it. That is what we do. We already recognize it. We put an effort there to recognize it. Then here you note them. You note. Then here, striving towards success, that means that you put the effort until you can able to overcome that hindrance. You're able to overcome those hindrance. Here, the three level of effort is like, sometimes I use the simile of a plane, when you run, then the plane is like on the runway, then it's like putting off effort. Then when it starts to climb and starts to fly, then it's like a step up effort. Then when the aeroplane is cruising on a certain altitude, then altitude, not attitude, altitude. There are cruising that time. That is also another type of effort. So while the plane is running, they also put a lot of energy, power, so that the plane will starts to move. Then when it starts to fly, they need to overcome the gravity, then or wind or whatsoever. Then they have to push up. Then they have to step up the effort. Again, also when they are cruising, cruising also there's a lot of power to maintain the aeroplane to be in flight. Although when you're sitting inside there, you don't feel anything when it's cruising, right? But the aeroplane is at full power. So do the same thing when you are overcoming a dullness and drowsiness. Yeah, then we got to put up initial effort to note the object, and then after that, persistent onto it until that sloth and torpor disappear. Yeah? So this is on the element of putting forth effort, step up effort, and striving towards success, and the element striving towards success. We're going to talk about this effort in ways that when we come into samatha and also other skillful ways. Samatha again, there is again all levels of jhanas. If you have all level of jhana, then you don't have to worry about all these hindrance. But the thing is that you don't have. So we're going to talk about that too. So in the vipassana, again, here we have a direct towards the direct overcoming or indirect overcoming. Then also we'll see into the vipassana. I think I'm not going to talk right now, but I think I'll talk about it next week on Monday to consolidate all this, the vipassana, samatha, and other skillful ways. It's quite a lot of talk now. It's quite interesting actually for me, at least. Okay, so we stop here for tonight. And on Friday, yes, we have a Q&A. So if you have any question, you can send it to Sister Hun Ling. It's in the chat right now, the phone number. All right, so we'll share merits.